Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Man's No Bull Beer Reviews. Today I have another beer from Brew Gentleman Brewing Company out of Braddock, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Pittsburgh. This beer is called Mexican Coffee. See there it says Oatmeal Stout, 6.5 ABV. So the Mexican Stout, there is no peppers in this like some people think there is. It is coffee, cinnamon, and vanilla. And this is the smaller version, the original but smaller non-barrel aged version of Double Mix, if any of you guys have had that before, which is a scaled up version of this, a barrel aged scaled up version of this. But yeah, I love this beer. This is probably my favorite seasonal that they do. It's not my favorite beer in total of theirs ever, but it's my favorite seasonal that they do. And I think it's awesome that they do this every fall. This is their wild card in their fall seasonals. They do a double IPA, a regular IPA, and a wild card. This is the wild card for the fall. And I just love this beer. So, but I've not had this year's batch, so I'm really excited for that. And shout out to my buddy Lauren, who was in Pittsburgh and grabbed these growlers for me. Always appreciated, and I will always return the favor anytime I'm in Pittsburgh. So. Man, that smells so good. I can smell it from here. Like I've said with some of their other reviews, you know, whenever you open one of their growlers, doesn't have much of a hiss, but that's because it's filled to the very, very top. So a lot of people might think that, oh no, it's going to be flat or whatever, and you could have it in the fridge for a month and it'll pour absolutely perfect like this. It's amazing. Every time. But as you can see, it pours out really, really dark brown, almost a black color. I mean, that's very, very dark for a 6.5 stout. A nice beige to tan head. So the reason that I love this beer so much is the vanilla and the coffee and the cinnamon are complements to the beer. They're not the driving flavor, and they're not there to cover up a flawed or a watery or whatever type of beer. That is not what they're doing in this. They're complementing the awesome base beer that already exists. And even just by smelling this, I mean, you do get a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of cinnamon, but and then there's a roasty character, but the roast is mainly driven from, I mean, it doesn't really smell like roasted coffee. To me, it pretty much smells like dark roasted, like caramel malts. But it's not like ashy or charred like Black Patent either. But honestly, it smells like a really nice oatmeal stout with just a hint of vanilla and cinnamon, which is awesome. So, I would say every year that I have this, it does seem slightly tweaked from what I remember. Sometimes, to me, it seems like the cinnamon is a little heavy-handed, and it's never like the driving dominant flavor. But sometimes I think it's a little much for what I prefer from what they make. Sometimes I think it's really subtle. It seems like they kind of jump back and forth just a tiny bit each year to really, really try to dial it in. So I mean, the flavor is very similar to the aroma. There is a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of cinnamon. Um, the coffee is really just a splash. I mean, it just the stout is still the big player here. It's like just slightly sweet enough to carry the additives, but in general, it's actually a pretty dry beer, which is not usually the case for like flavored oatmeal stouts. The body is pretty substantial for only being 6.2%. I mean, this has more body than like 8% stouts. Some 8% stouts I've had. Uh, it's it has a decent thickness, but it's actually fairly carbonated, so the carbonation kind of keeps it like lively, even though it has a pretty substantial body, which I think works really nice. And it really shows something to the brewing capability to have like a body this big on a beer that's only 6.5 ABV, and there not be a lot of residual sugar, which there definitely is not in this. It is pretty dry for this style of beer. Sorry. It's so funny with some of their beers. Like I take a sip, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. Like I remembered, but then the more I drink it, the more I get like accustomed to everything that's going on. And this is, to me, this is the exact same case with their IPAs too. You realize how dialed in and rounded off everything is, and then you can really piece out like every little bit about it, because there's nothing that's like stabbing you from the side that's like, hey, I'm here, look at me, look at me, look at me. There's nothing that's like that. Everything has its place. It's all really balanced. And I love that. Like some beers, the first sip you take, you're like, holy shit, that's a lot of maple or coconut or whatever. And then every sip after that, it's boom coconut, boom coconut, boom coconut, boom coconut. Like maybe you'll get muted to the coconut a little bit and start tasting the chocolate and roast, but it's always just so crushing that you're not going to get that much out of the rest of the flavors. But this, it's kind of like the first taste is like, oh, well, I can tell that it's really well rounded, but I'm not really like feeling too much about it as a whole. And then the more you drink it, you appreciate that it's so well rounded, and you can kind of just like stop and think about each individual flavor. And I know I'm a huge homer for them. I will gladly admit that. That's fine. But there's a reason for it. It's because they make amazing beer. But I just love how easy drinking this is. And this is something that could really appeal to the masses, and that's another reason why I love them so much. Is they do some crazy stuff here and there just to satisfy the beer nerds, but 90% of their beers are like really middle of the road, and I don't mean middle of the road in quality, but just middle of the road. Like they're not super outlandish weird stuff. Like they're things that you can get people who aren't that into craft beer to drink, but at the same time you'll gladly drink it because it's so well made and super tasty. And that's another thing that I love about these guys. And I have been waiting to do a review for this beer for a long time. And the last fall or two I missed it and couldn't get a growler of it because I wasn't home. So again, thank you, Lauren, for grabbing this for me. I'm glad I did a proper review. I don't know how long this is going to be on tap there. I guess technically fall didn't start until the third weekend in September. So really, it should technically be on like through the beginning of December. But you know how those things work. So it might be gone. By the time I get up there in Thanksgiving, I don't know. But I would say now through at least mid-November, it should be available. So I would recommend anyone who likes this type of beer to actively seek this out. If you reach out to anyone in Pittsburgh, I'm sure they'll gladly send you a growler of it. It's constantly on tap. It's not like a one-off type release thing. It's easy to get, and I'm sure they'll send it to you for some nice locals or whatever. But it is definitely worth seeking out. It's so balanced and so easy to drink, and just an awesome, awesome beer. So this is obviously a buy for me. But I think that's all I got in this one. Another great, great beer from Brew Gentlemen. I really appreciate it. So please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next one. Thanks.